North of Ordinary show, brought to you by North of Ordinary magazine. I'm your host, Emily Hoefs, and we have cooked up a fantastic show for you today, starting with a visit to the legendary Riverside Grocery. We're also checking out a machine that takes used plastic and turns it back into crude oil. We're chatting with Miss Sauer, local performing artist, and Sports Beat. But first, I'm here at the Whitehorse Rapids Fishway, operated by Yukon Energy. August is the time of year when the Chinook salmon start to make their way upstream through the Fishway towards their spawning ground in Lake Schwalka and beyond. And we're going to find out exactly how they do that. From Yukon Energy. We're at the Whitehorse Rapids Dam. Janet, can you tell us a little bit about the history of the Fishway here?
It's quite an interesting history. The Whitehorse Dam was actually built in 1958, and when they started building the dam, they hadn't thought about a fishway. So they devised a plan. They would capture the salmon in big nets, put them in tanks, drive them around the dam, and release them in Schwalka Lake. And it worked. I mean, obviously it's not something that they wanted to do on an ongoing basis, but certainly for that first year it worked. So in 1959, the Fishway was built. It's actually the longest wooden fish ladder in the world and has a number of elements to it that help the salmon find their way to the ladder. Further downstream, you will notice some screens that prevents the salmon from going through the turbines. There's also a weir that again nudges them towards the opening of the ladder, and then they can just travel all the way up and past the dam to Schwalka Lake and on to their spawning grounds. The first year the ladder was in operation, they weren't sure at that point, is this really going to work? That first salmon that traveled up the ladder and they saw through those viewing windows, it was quite a day, I understand. People were very excited. And that year we had just over 1,000 salmon travel through the ladder, which is about what we've had this year. So it's kind of interesting.
Wow, and so same design from 1959 to now.
That's correct. So it's now over 50 years old, and we are thinking that, you know, it's soon going to be time to replace the ladder. It will be, you know, some years still before that will happen, but certainly that's something that we're thinking about.
Thank you so much for your time today, Janet.
Hey, you're welcome.
The Yukon Research Centre has been involved for many years on cold climate innovation projects at the Yukon College. This year, one of their most recent projects involves the installation of a machine that takes used plastic and turns it back into crude oil. Let's go have a look.
Hi, I'm Andy Lira, and I'm the project manager for the installation and operation of the first plastic to oil machine that is installed in North America, right here at P&M Recycling. With this machine, we can take absolutely worthless plastic that is economically unviable to sort and process and ship out, and we can upcycle it into a fuel that is worth a lot more money.
We are the partner company with Blessed in North America, the Caribbean, and Latin America. And what we do is we design, develop, and distribute the plastic to oil systems. The equipment was originally developed in Japan, and Mr. Nakajima is the developer. The company is Blessed, and they started about 12 years ago. The entry into North America and to Canada happened in the last year or two. Andy and the Yukon College contacted us, and we started a discussion about a year and a half ago, and that eventually led to the implementation of the system here in about September of last year.
So plastic starts out as oil or oil byproducts, which have a carbon molecule chain about 8 or 9 long. And during the process of making the plastic, those are combined in order to make a chain roughly about 28 carbon molecules long. So what we're doing is we are chopping those chains back into the short 8 or 9 molecule chains in order to create the oil. The output of the plastic oil machine is synthetic mixed light crude oil. So it's basically very similar to diesel. It has some gasoline in it as well. But when we mix it with diesel, it can be burned in a regular furnace or actually in a diesel engine as well. The different phases the machine goes through is, first off, we take the plastic that comes in from mixed recycling, and it goes through a granulator, which reduces the size, and then the conveyor transports it into the load cell of the machine, and then it goes into an extruder and into the heating chambers. And in the heating chambers is where the temperature is brought up to 450 degrees Celsius, and at that point, at 450 degrees Celsius, the plastic starts to break down and pyrolyze. And then in the condenser, the temperature is brought down and that pyrolyzed gas condenses into oil, which collects into the offtake tank. One of the other advantages of this machine is that it is actually lower carbon emissions than recycling or incineration. So this machine can output a maximum of 10 liters of oil per hour. So it's a real simple equation that works out to 1 kilogram of plastic plus 1 kilowatt hour of electricity equals 1 liter of oil. So for 12 cents a liter for oil, that is pretty darn cheap. The funding came through Yukon Research Center and Canmore. And also Pat McEnroy at P&M Recycling has put in quite a huge sum of money as well in order to purchase some of the peripheral equipment as well as power upgrades necessary for the machine.
We always try and promote recycling no matter what it is. The problem here is we have such a time-honored tradition of getting money for our recyclables that's what the ones that people really worry about. But now with this, there's a lot more energy and a lot more social conscience on trying to get as much recycled as they possibly can, because now they know they have a viable alternative and it's not just a troublesome product for us anymore. It's one that we can turn it into a product that's of use to the Yukon.
I get calls every day from other recyclers in North America. They're telling me they have 30,000 kgs of plastic sitting in their yard that they cannot move, that no one wants to buy it. And they are looking for different options, and this is a totally viable option for their situations.
My name is Joyce Majewski, and I'm an artist here in Whitehorse. This event is called Art Under Pressure. There's about 19 of us, and we're all printing our woodcuts here. So a whole group of people have gotten together to make these woodcuts, and now we're printing them using that little road packer over there. I've been a printmaker for a long time, and it's sometimes difficult to do works that are bigger because well, the etching press I have is it's not big enough to do something this size. So I've always kind of fantasized about doing like a really big print. And when I saw these folks down in Mexico, the size of the print that they had done, I thought we could do that here. I contacted people in May, and so they had a couple of months to make the wood blocks and get them ready to print for these 3 days. It was an idea and a chance for some of the artists to work in a really big format in a medium that they don't usually work in. So they just did what they felt like doing, and it was kind of like a fun project. It's not for anything, it's not a specific project, it's just the first time we're doing it in Whitehorse, which is kind of cool. Well, we have an exhibition coming up at the Yukon Arts Center, and that'll be, I think, at the end of September during Culture Days. And right now there will be pieces rotating through Baked Cafe. It just seemed like a fun thing to kind of put out and do.
Here we are with Michelle McKay. She's the manager at the Fishway. Michelle, this constitutes a very short part of the salmon's journey, but a very important part. Why don't you tell us exactly how it works?
Okay, the purpose of the ladder, of course, is to get the Chinook salmon to bypass the dam. What they do is there's a weir that's located and it's angled, so it creates a big eddy. And often, of course, you can see the salmon schooling at the eddy. And once they start entering the ladder, there's 52 baffles they actually have to navigate through. Each baffle actually has a hole in the bottom, and they alternate along the way as well, so it creates eddies along the way so they can rest. And if they would like, they can actually swim through the holes instead of jumping over the baffles. And once they get into a windowed area that you can see from inside, we call that the sorting cage. we have gates there that will keep shut, and so we can count every single salmon that goes through for males or females, wild or hatchery fish, and then we'll take a size. And then we'll open the gate and release them. And they'll continue their way on, and they'll go almost under a hole in the dam to Chewacca Lake and continue their journey to their spawning grounds.
How much time do they spend overall before they continue on to their spawning grounds?
We believe that it can take them less than a day to get through the first part, which is the hardest part to navigate. And then within an hour, sometimes 24 hours, they'll be done out of the ladder. So
Obviously the Fishway is for salmon, but have you ever found anything interesting in the tank or that's making its way through as well?
yeah, we have found a few different wildlife. We found muskrats in the past. This year, 2013, we've had 3 beavers in here. And of course we get other freshwater fish such as Arctic grayling, whitefish, long-nosed suckers. The beavers though are the pain. We actually need to try and get them out.
It's late at night in Whitehorse and you have a craving for wasabi flavored organic cheesies. There's one spot in Whitehorse that you're probably headed. The one and only Riverside Grocery.
My name's Leona Commons and my family owns and operates Riverside Grocery. My family purchased the store in 1982. It was a very small store when we first got it, and it was only about 400 square feet. And we eventually opened it up into the back room, and then we opened it up into taking the apartment upstairs and having an office, and we expanded out the back. So it's grown quite a bit. It is a family business. It's my husband and I. I've had somebody here working with me for 15 years, and then in the summer all my kids come back and we all get to work together as a family, which is really fun.
My name is Levi Commons and I've been working here for as long as I can walk. The most fun thing is working with the family all day.
Hi, I'm Ella Commons.
And I'm Sophie Commons.
For the most part it's fun, but
some downs are pretty fun though.
Yeah.
Levi's pretty entertaining, so.
As the years have gone by, we've gotten more organic things and fair trade, and if you start thinking about that, then you kind of want people to buy more of those things. It's just you try things. You just have to keep trying them and trying them until you find out what sells.
it's fun. We get to try all the new items usually. Or if things come in off the order, we'll always try and test it out. So I'd say most of the things in here we've tried at some point or the other. Even the weird ones.
We have chicken in a can. It's unique for sure.
We have a new kombucha drink with chia seeds in it.
I like it.
Strange, but it's delicious.
You should try it.
Well, if you come in and you're looking for a delicious bag of chips, I would say look for the kettles. They always have a new flavor. For example, they have maple bacon right now that just came out. It's pretty different.
Yeah, actually all of our vegetables, our fruits and vegetables right now are organic, except for maybe the head lettuce, and this year we have about 4 different farmers selling to us. We have quite a few natural health products, and actually our huge line that we have also right now is gluten-free foods, because that seems to be quite a fad right now.
If you're coming in looking for noodles that aren't full of corn and grain, then definitely try the quinoa noodles. They're better than you think.
We don't have too many rough times. Altogether, we're pretty trying on our parents.
They're smart and they know everything, and they kind of just have a common sense, because they know how to do everything because they actually grew up in the store, because we had the store before they were born. So they just know stuff. They're great.
I'm still going to school right now, trying to carve my own path a little bit, but chances are I may end up here in the future.
Hi, here we are back at the Whitehorse Rapids Fish Hatchery and Fish Ladder, and I've got with us Lawrence Vano, who is the manager of the fish hatchery. Why don't you tell us just exactly what you do here?
The dam was built and they have turbines that were put in 1984. So they built a hatchery to compensate for the loss of the fry going through the turbines. So we have a pilot hatchery, raise about 150,000 fry a year. I come every morning, collect my brood fish, take them back to the hatchery, do egg takes at the hatchery, and then we raise them till they're about yay big. Cut off a little fin at the back called an adipose fin, put a little metal tag into the cartilage of their nose, and release them into their spawning sites. So when they return, we know if they're wild or of hatchery origin, and we raise about 150,000 a year. It's kind of a conservation mitigation / enhancement facility.
And how is this summer, this season, looking compared to the last few seasons or in history?
It's the strangest run I've ever seen. Usually we get twice as many males as females, but this year we're getting almost a 1-to-1 ratio, and I've never seen that the whole time I've been here. So it's a little bit odd, but lots of females in good shape, like lots of energy still in, and for them to dig their reds and to lay their eggs, and bigger females than what I've seen in other years. So it's a good run, yeah.
Well, I can tell you, down there looking into the tank and looking through the glass of the tank, it is a neat spot. It's definitely worth the visit.
It's been fantastic. Longest Chinook migration in the world, but it's just unheard of to hear of fish coming back 1,800 miles, Chinook salmon coming 1,800. So they're very unique and very valuable resource. We should be pretty proud of what we've been trying to accomplish here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming in and sharing your salmon knowledge with us, the local salmon guru. We have Lawrence Vano. Thank you. Moira Sauer has been a staple of the local performing artist scene for a long time, but recently she's taken a turn with some friends into the world of silent filmmaking. The results are definitely north of ordinary.
My name's Ian Stewart.
My name's Moira Sauer, and we are probably the core of Miss Sauer Productions. We got started in 2010 when Cold Snap, the 48-hour filmmaking competition, and it was the first one that had been held, to my knowledge, in town, and I had never done anything in film, and Neil MacDonald twisted my very rubber arm and said, you just have to be able to tell a story. And I've told lots of stories, and I thought, well, I could maybe tell a story, but I didn't know anything about the camera stuff, and that's when I dragged Ian on board, and from there we never looked back.
I do photography, but that's a very different thing. There's a bit of a learning curve as far as what you can do with a still camera while shooting video, but it worked out. It looked really good.
The Provider is a period silent piece, and it's the beginning of a trilogy, and it started because I knew the one thing I wanted to do was use all our dogs, and I knew nothing about sound, and so I just thought the easiest way to get through this in a 48-hour competition is to just cut it all out. It made everything so much faster because I could speak through all the scenes. We just shot everything once, and then it meant that the editing was that much faster because I only had one take of each scene.
I think shooting in black and white can help simplify it, obviously, right? Like, there's a lot of contrast, especially in the winter with the Provider. It was like lots of white, just a little bit of black. It's easy to make a compelling composition when you pare it down like that.
I love the idea of being able to tell a story that could be completely universal and understood anywhere around the world. Anyone around the world could watch this short and get it. The Provider won quite a lot at the Cold Snap competition. It did very well there. And then it screened at the Dawson International Film Festival.
And it won.
And it won there. By winning there, it automatically got into Tromsø, Norway, which is an international film festival in Norway. So I went over there, and it screened in Vancouver at an international film festival. And somewhere along the line, I think someone from Telefilm Canada saw it, and we ended up heading over to France, to Festival de Cannes, where it screened just this last May. It was definitely well loved by international audiences. The most interesting thing for me was where all the laughs happened, because when you screen it in the Yukon, there are known things. Like when the SS Klondike comes up, we all know it's docked on a parking lot and the river's frozen and it's a museum. Well, overseas, it looks like a real ship sitting on the river. So it doesn't receive the same guffaws in that moment that it did at home. Guaranteed, the dogs come on the screen, everybody laughs. There's something about the manicness of all the canines in an enclosed space, and it every time. The Gift was the second in the series. It's a Northern Gothic trilogy, and The Gift was the second one. The Gift has a more complex storyline. There are 4 stories going on, so it was much more challenging for me to cut together as simply as I did the provider. So the third part of the trilogy, The Hunt, is being shot this winter. It's a mermaid hunt, and so I'll be building tails all fall. It'll be the final of this trilogy, and it will, hopefully, the story will bring itself back around to the start of the provider so that people can watch all three as a little loop-de-loop. What's the most satisfying to me is that it's something that I can share for so long with so many people. It doesn't die out the way a play has to have its closing night and get packed away and is done and all the actors go off to their place. There's something about it it's really nice to be able to share what I've done now with family and friends who've never come up here or have never seen me do any of my performance work.
I've been up here 17 years and I've been playing on the street. The Yukon News, Mike Thomas picture helped me quite a lot in the Yukon. I did 16 years of street in Victoria as well, at Vancouver Island. So it's 32 years on the street. As a musician, I was in the union and we did top 40 band music for dances and clubs and traveled a bit. In 1954, I was fortunate enough to listen to my grandfather's radio, and I heard the interview with Charlie Parker in Toronto, and that was my introduction to jazz. Some of my musical heroes are Wayne Shorter, of course Duke Ellington, Jerry Mulligan, Stan Getz, Art Pepper. In case anybody wants to know why I change in the middle of a song to another song, is because the traffic got a different tempo or the street light changed, and if I don't change with it, somebody's going to run into something. I don't want to be stopped from playing on the street. So modulation. Everybody keep your eyes open and go with the flow. It's just like walking in a crowded space. You don't bump anybody. You know how to do it. It's the same with music.
What else can I do? I'm still in love with you.
You can hire me if you want. I do parties, birthdays. You can even send a cab at 3 in the morning and I'll play Happy Birthday for somebody in their yard, but it'll cost you more. HD Shimmy, I'm in the book.
Oh, thank you, Ben. Thanks. You're welcome. Always a pleasure.
I'm here with Alex DeBruin. He's a supervisor here at the Fishway, and he's going to start talking to us about this massive journey that these salmon take.
Yeah, so the salmon have started off in the Bering Sea, and in mid-June this year, around the 14th, the first of them started arriving in the Delta. They do about a marathon and a half in terms of length every day, fighting against the current all the way up to Whitehorse. And the first ones arrived in Whitehorse around August, and they'll probably be finished around early September. And once they're past Whitehorse, it's just a very short distance up to the spawning creeks, Wolf Creek, McClintock River, and Mitchie Creek. And there, the females will lay their eggs, the males will fertilize them, and then they'll die at the very end of their trip. But they've secured the very best grounds for their offspring to grow up and spend the first few years of their lives.
What's the total distance?
The total distance from the ocean all the way up to Whitehorse is 2,800 kilometers, so it's one of the longest salmon migrations on Earth. In fact, the Yukon River salmon are the longest migrating salmon in existence.
Wow, so world record holders right here in the Yukon.
Yeah, no salmon will go any further than these ones here.
So obviously, Alex, you do track the numbers very closely. What are the numbers like this year?
Our total number so far for the season is 1,077. We were at 1,037 last year, so we've already exceeded that. I think our 10-year average is around 1,200. The values have been a little bit odd this year. We've had a lot of hatchery fish. You can see we've had over 700 hatchery fish, just about half as many wild fish. So the hatchery fish are really a significant portion of the run this year. We've had more females than males, which is extremely odd. Our hatchery manager, Lawrence, was saying he'd never seen anything quite like it before. Normally it's more like a 2-to-1 ratio of males to females, so we're not entirely sure what might be causing this. It could be that there might be some sort of odd sex-selective thing going on that's killing off a lot of males. It could be that the females are surviving better for some reason we don't know. But it's not entirely clear what's causing it this year.
Well, that's exactly why you track the numbers, right?
That's why we track the numbers.
All right, thanks a lot, Alex.
Thank you very much for coming by.
Join me now as we cover Whitehorse's fanciest athletic endeavor, cricket, on a little segment we like to call Sports Beat.
McLean here with Pat Jablonski for another exciting edition of Cable 9 Sports.
Today we're going to find out about a sport that's not just north of ordinary, it's east, west, and south as well. I'm talking about the sport of cricket.
Now, the British Empire hasn't had geopolitical significance since the end of World War I.
But here in Whitehorse, let's just say the sport of cricket is pretty wicked. So I'm a huge fan of the sport, obviously. I love the game. Spent hours watching it. I know nothing about it, though.
It comes from actually England, from the 1800s. They've been playing since then. There's usually 11 players on each side.
And it's named after the bug, I understand.
It sounds like it, but it's not named after the bug. I don't think that was the intention.
Check this out.
Yes.
That's a cricket impression.
Why do you play the sport? Please explain.
It's all about fun. It's not about the background or history. We love this game.
Does the Queen play cricket?
If she's not playing, she should start playing, actually. It's a great game.
The game here has just begun tonight, and it goes on for 5 days. Is that correct? Are you sleeping out here in Shipyards Park tonight? Please explain.
Instead of 5 days, we're going to only play in a couple of hours. So we shorten up the game just to make it fun, more interesting, and we're going to keep it within 2 hours.
I understand there's a break for tea with the formal tea service sometime in this game. Please explain.
You know, you're actually right. It does happen in Test cricket. So after a long day of cricket, you know, you have your breaks, periodic breaks, and during the break time, we call it a tea break. It's a tradition since 1800s.
Oh! Are you here today because your parents are out here making you play this game? Please explain.
Yeah.
What would you rather be doing right now, or what sports would you rather be watching rather than cricket?
Soccer, basketball, or playing video games. We're not so good at cricket.
Does he threaten you during the week? Does he say, do your homework or I'm going to go make you play cricket?
Yes, basically.
For all you other bad kids out here, take this as a lesson. This could be you. Is it time for tea yet? It's tea time. We gotta go. We gotta go get some tea. Earl Grey with lemons. Do we got lemons for the Earl Grey today?
Well, Brock, we learned when it comes to cricket here in Whitehorse, there's a passionate group of cricketers.
We discovered that nothing short of a mathematics degree will help you understand the scoring.
And some athleticism, precision timing, and a whole lot of patience.
And we discovered that the sport of cricket gets its name from the large crowds that come to watch these people play.
Sports Beat.
Jablonski and McLean.
That's it for this episode of the North of Ordinary show, brought to you by North of Ordinary magazine. We love to hear from our loyal viewers, so if you have suggestions or comments, look us up on our Northwest Tile Community TV website or Facebook page. Until then, I'm your host, Emily Hoefs.
Take me out to the
vacant field. Take me out to the...
Few people up on the hill watching, kind of, sort of.
Buy me some...
Teen burgers and KFC.
What else did you expect? It's just cable TV.
Let me root for
the cricket guys.
Doing something we don't totally understand.